Today we're going to be doing Module 2, Lesson 15. The objective of today's lesson is to add measurements using the standard algorithm to compose larger units once. The materials needed for today are your online whiteboard or your whiteboard dry erase marker and dry eraser. We're going to continue to follow the teaching style where I do it, then we do it together, and then you do it on your own. First up, we're going to start with a new vocabulary term, standard algorithm. A standard algorithm is a step-by-step way to solve a problem. So here you see 4 different examples of how are you going to use the standard algorithm to solve addition and subtraction equations. Today we're only focusing on this type of example, which is an addition example where we compose larger units once. First up, we're going to start with some fluency. You can message me the answer in GoGuardian. There are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So my question for you, how many centimeters are in 2 meters? Okay. You can message me your answer in GoGuardian. You can think of this kind of as a multiplication equation or as a repeated addition equation. If there's one group and it has 100 centimeters, what would 2 groups of 100 centimeters be? Message me in GoGuardian the answer. Okay, let's see if your answer matches mine. To figure out how many centimeters are in 2 meters, we're going to have 2 groups of 100 centimeters. So that's like doing 100 plus 100, which equals 200. So how many centimeters are in 2 meters? 200 centimeters. Let's go ahead and do another one. How many centimeters are in 8 meters? Go ahead and message me the answer in GoGuardian. Okay, so in 8 meters, that's like having 8 groups of 100 centimeters. So we could add 100 8 times, okay? So I'm going to put up 8 fingers and count by hundreds. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. So that would equal 800 centimeters. Okay. Another trick you might notice is that in 1 meter, they just add 2 zeros and then it's centimeters. Okay, then it's the same as this. Okay, just like 2 meters has 200 centimeters. Okay. 8 meters has 800 centimeters. So to each of those, to convert them from meters to centimeters, you're just adding 2 zeros. This next part of our fluency is dealing with minutes. In case you forgot, there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So if we have 50 minutes plus blank equals 1 hour. So I want you to message me and GoGuardian what should go on this blank here. 50 minutes plus how many minutes will equal 1 hour? Okay, so there's a few different ways you could have done this. All right. We know if there's 60 minutes in 1 hour, we've already used 50 of them. You could do a subtraction equation to figure out how many minutes are left to make up that 1 hour. Like I said, you might have done this a different way, or you just might have thought of it in your head. You might have looked at a clock. This is just one example that I'm going to show you. Okay. So we're doing 6 minus 5, and that just leaves us with 10 minutes. So 50 minutes plus 10 minutes equals 1 hour. Okay, now we're going to review some of what we've been doing this week. What is 87 rounded to the nearest 10? Some of you, after doing a lot of practice, might be able to do this in your head. But I really like to draw our vertical number line because that really helps me to figure out where I need to round. Once you solve this, you can message me and GoGuardian. If you're doing it the way we practiced, we look in the tens place and keep that number on the bottom. Because remember, we're rounding to the nearest 10, so that's why we're looking in the tens place. We're going to add one more 10 to that. 8 tens plus 1 10 equals 9 tens, which is 90. Then I'm going to find my halfway point. I look in the tens place down here and I keep that number. And we have a 5 at the end because that's halfway. Okay? Between 0 and 10, halfway is 5. So that's why we always end with that 5. Now I'm going to give you a minute to figure out where 87 goes on the number line and which number it rounds to. And message me that answer in GoGuardian. So I'm going to start with my hash marks. 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. I'm going to plot a point right here on the 87 hash mark. My halfway point is right here at 85, and my point is above the halfway mark. If it's above, I round up to that top number, which means 87 rounded to the nearest 10 is 90. Remember, when we're rounding to the nearest 10, our answer is always going to end in a 0. Okay, for this next fluency equation, this is what you worked on yesterday, rounding to the nearest 100. Very similar to what we did rounding to the nearest 10. So I'm going to start with my vertical number line, bottom number, top number, halfway. This time we're rounding to the nearest hundreds, so I'm going to look in the hundreds place. The number in the hundreds place is a 2. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to have 200. I need to add one more 100 to get to the top number. 2 hundreds plus 100 equals 300s. Now for my halfway point, remember I still look at the hundreds and I want to keep that number. Halfway between 0 and 100 is always going to be 50. So that is why we always end in a 50. I'll give you just a minute to plot 237 on your number line and figure out what it rounds to. When you figure out which number it rounds to, message me that answer and go Guardian. Okay, so to find 237, I'm going to count by tens. So if I'm counting by tens, that means I'm going to look in the tens place. I want to get to that 3. So 200, 210, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260, 270, 280, 290, 300. Okay, so here is where I got to my 23 tens. So I know that 237 is right above that, but before we get to 240. So I'm just going to plot it right there in between those lines. We can see that my point is below halfway, which means we round down to our number on bottom. So that means that 237 rounded to the nearest 100 is 200. Now, because we're rounding to the nearest 100, we're always going to end in 2 zeros. Okay, whatever number we round to will always end in those 2 zeros. Okay, now is where you can set down your whiteboards. I'm going to have you watch. I'm going to show you how we're going to do addition using the standard algorithm, and then I'm going to have you try it with me. So for this, I have 46 milliliters plus 25 milliliters. The first thing I want to do is set that up in the standard algorithm. You might have heard of it as stack it and add it. So I'm going to stack them right on top of each other. 46 plus 25. Okay, notice how that my 6 and my 5 are right on top of each other because they're both from the ones column. My 4 and my 2 are right on top of each other because they're both in the tens column. You want to make sure when you're rewriting your equations that you line them up perfectly. Now for right now, I'm going to ignore the milliliters because it's just a form of measurement. So once we figure out our answer, we'll just put milliliters at the end of it. So right now we're just going to focus on the numbers. Now, to do this, first we're going to make a place value chart, okay? So I'm simply going to do that by making something that looks like this. Over here would be my hundreds column, here would be my tens column, and here would be my ones column. Okay? Remember to make sure you're watching this part instead of trying to do it yourself so that you understand how I'm doing it. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 46 in blue. If I look in my tens place, I have a 4. So I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, 4 circles there. Okay? Now, if I count those circles, it really would be, since they're each worth 10, 10, 20, 30, 40. If I look in the ones place, there's a 6. So I'm going to do 6 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once I get to the 5th one, I start a new row. 6. So if we count this out, we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. So our first number is 46. The number we're going to be adding on is 25. So there's 2 tens. I'm going to come down a little bit and do 2 circles and 5 ones. So I'm going to do 5 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this represents 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So right now, this is showing 46 plus 25. Now, when we're adding together using the standard algorithm, we always want to start in the ones. Step 1 is start in the ones. Okay, say that with me. Step 1 is start in the ones. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to count until I get to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to circle these 10 ones, and I'm going to trade them over here for 1 10, okay? Because this equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this equals 10. So I'm going to trade them. These are now gone because they've become this one over here. This 110. Now let's look at how that works over here on our equation. We did 6 plus 5. Okay. We took these 10 ones and traded them for 110. So I'm going to write that 110 over here on the line. The reason we do it down on the line, okay, is first of all to separate it from when we're doing subtraction, because we do subtraction on the top. We're going to do addition down here on the line. It's also because we want it to match our picture. 4 plus 2 plus 1. And over here you see our picture shows 4 plus 2 plus 1. Okay? Now, let's look over here. How many ones do we have left? Just this one right here. So there's 1 and left in the ones place. Over here on my standard algorithm, I'm going to put that 1 there. Okay. Now, another thing you might have noticed is that all together in the ones, we have 10, 11. And you can see kind of how when we write this one on the line, this number looks like 11. And 6 plus 5 is 11. Okay, so you can see kind of how that works as well. Now let's go to the tens. We're going to be adding 4 tens plus 2 10 plus 1 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 tens. We're just going to write that answer right here in the tens place. So 46 plus 25 equals 71. Okay, let's go ahead and have you pick up your whiteboards and try this next one with me. So I'll go a little bit slower. Okay. First on your whiteboard, remember we're going to be doing the standard algorithm and we're going to be doing our drawing. So make sure that you have room on your whiteboard for both. Over here on the left side, I'm going to rewrite my problem as 59 plus 30 in the stack it and add it style. Okay, I stacked them right on top of each other. Make sure your 9 is right on top of your 0 and your 5 is right on top of your 3. They have to line up correctly. Next, you're going to draw your hundreds chart. So the first spot on the left is for the hundreds, the middle spot is the tens, and the spot on the right is the ones. I'll give you just a minute to get that ready, and then we'll start adding. Okay, so first what we're going to do is we're going to write 59, or we're going to draw 59. So we need 5 tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 tens, and we need 9 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, after I get to 5, I start a new row. 6, 7, 8, 9. So our first number is 59. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. Now we're going to draw our next number, which is 30. So we have 3 tens, 1, 2, 3, and we have nothing in the ones, so we're not going to draw anything in the ones for that number. We just have 10, 20, 30. So we have 59 plus 30. Give you a little bit more time to make sure you have that drawing caught up before we start putting them together. Okay, so now it's time to start adding. First, we're going to look in the ones. Step 1, look in the ones. Over here, we have 9 ones plus 0 ones. If you look at our equation, we have 9 plus 0. Well, 9 plus 0 is 9. So I'm going to write that over here, and then I'm going to come over to my equation and write that in the ones place. Next, we have 5 plus 3, which is really like 50 plus 30 because it's in the tens place. And over here you see we have 5 plus 3. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got an 8 in the tens place, which we know is really like 80. Okay. 5 plus 3 is 8. Therefore, 59 plus 30 is 89. And I did forget to add this on earlier, or on the last equation, but we are measuring in centimeters, so we're going to put our answer in centimeters. 59 centimeters plus 30 centimeters equals 89 centimeters. Okay, I have one more example I want to do with you to give you a little bit of extra practice before you're working on your own. We're going to try to go through this one a little bit faster. First, we're going to start with writing our equation in our standard algorithm. 345 plus 294. Notice how my 5 is right on top of my 4 is right on top of my 9, and my 3 is right on top of my 2. So I've lined up my hundreds, my tens, and my ones. Then I'm going to draw my hundreds chart. Hundreds, tens, ones. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to get those caught up, and then we'll write our numbers and add them together. Okay, let's go ahead and put our numbers on there. Our first number is 345. So we need 3 hundreds, 4 tens, 5 ones. 1, 2, 3 hundreds. 1, 2, 3, 4 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. 345. Make sure you get that drawing up there. If you feel confident, you can go ahead and start drawing 294. Okay, so now we're going to do 294. 2 hundreds, 9 tens, 4 ones. 2 hundreds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Start a new row. 6, 7, 8, 9 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4 ones. Go ahead and get that part caught up. Okay, let's go ahead and add them together. So first we're adding our ones, which is 5 plus 4. And you can see over here in our equation, we have 5 plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 ones. Over here, we have 5 plus 4, and we got 9. Next, we're going to go ahead and add up our tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. We've gotten to 100 So we're going to circle those, and we're going to move them over here to regroup it as 100. We're going to cross these out because they're gone now. Okay, so we just took 10 tens, which are the same as 100. And so we moved it over to our hundreds to make 100. Let's see how that looks over here on our standard algorithm, okay? We had 4 plus 9, okay? And that equaled 1 to go in the hundreds, so I'm going to put my 1 over here in the hundreds. And then we have 1, 2, 3 left in the tens. I'm going to put my 3 there. I'm also going to put my 3 over here in my answer. So we did 4 plus 9, and it equaled 13. So you can see here's the 1, 3, 13. Okay? 4 plus 9 is 13. We just take the 1 and we move it over to that 100 spot. Because it's really 13 tens, which is just like 130. Now all that's left is to add up our hundreds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hundreds. Okay. 3 plus 2 plus 1. Over here, 3 plus 2 plus 1 equals 6. So 345 grams plus 294 grams equals 639 grams. Okay, now you're going to have a Cami homework to complete. You're going to be working on number 1, okay? You do not have to do number 2 on that worksheet. And as you open the worksheet, you might notice that there's not a lot of space to do what we were just doing. So I highly encourage you to use your whiteboard to draw out the problems, and then you can just write your answers below each of the problems, okay? Use your whiteboard to stack it and do your standard algorithm and do your hundreds chart. Go ahead and begin. Please make sure you ask questions because we're going to be doing this again. And I want to make sure you understand this before we add on more steps.